Arcade Heroes.
Growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, I happily participated in a ritual every Saturday morning of sitting down in front of the family TV and watching cartoons. Shows would come and go with frequency, but one that left a deep impression on me would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or as I'll call it from here on out, TMNT. The story of four mutant ninja brothers sparked imaginations on a weekly basis, and their popularity quickly spilled over to video games. While it wasn't too hard to find the TMNT name on most of the popular consoles of the time, the best action was found at the arcade, with Konami launching TMNT in 1989 and following up with an even better sequel, Turtles in Time, a couple of years later. Both of these games were amazing pieces of multiplayer design, but as fate would have it, the beat-em-up genre that the Turtles games belonged to would die an ignoble death by 1994, excepting the occasional 3D brawler here and there. Fast forward to October 2017, and Raw Thrills surprised the gaming world by announcing a return to the genre with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we can also just call TMNT 2018, as 2018 is when it was released. With the Konami games being loosely based on the cartoon series of their day, Raw Thrills would take a similar approach to the contemporary show that ran on Nickelodeon from 2012 to 2017. While I heard some people complain loudly about this, since the Turtles were not the ones they remembered from the 80s era, I can't fault Raw Thrills for making this business decision. In fact, since it was a license, that means that the licensor, Nickelodeon in this case, gets a major say in the appearance of the design. Chances are that if Raw Thrills went to them and said, we want to do the 89 Turtles, Nickelodeon would have said, no, you have to use the ones that we have on TV right now. And so that's just the realities of business. Now, that said, I wouldn't have minded it if there was an option to choose between the look of the 89 Turtles and the 2012 Turtles, as there was an episode within the Nickelodeon series that did have like a crossover dimensional episode or something like that that had the older versions on there. But anyways. For the cabinet design, it's much larger than four-player cabinets of old. I'd say it's like having two of those old four-player Konami cabinets side by side, but then it's much taller than those. As these days, all arcade cabinets love to go tall. And so it uses a 55-inch HD screen, and you have a bit more space between joysticks. It's a bit more comfortable to play than on those older Konami cabinets. It also has a very nice 200-watt subwoofer boosted sound system. Things can really shake if you turn the volume up, which is always fun. And then it also is covered in artwork and has some green tea molding along with multiple strips of RGB LED tea molding pieces. Now, when this first launched, there was a problem where the brightness was just like at maximum, and so it was really, really bright. But Raw Thrills would later release a software update that fixed that, allowing the operator to adjust it down if they needed to. For the controls themselves, they're straightforward. You use the joystick to move, then you have an attack, jump, and turtle power button. Now, there are multiple styles of attacks, the two different jump attacks, as well as the push both buttons at the same time and use some of your health to do a kind of a swinging multi-character attack. And so there's that. Unfortunately, it doesn't have team attacks where you can join up with the other, like Konami did in The Simpsons and Turtles in Time. But it does allow you to throw characters into the screen, which is always a lot of fun. And there are a lot of environmental hazards as well, not as many as, or I should say, destructible environments and pieces in the streets that you can use to your advantage to hit other guys, like picking up a barrel, hitting a plumbing handle, hitting a fire hydrant or a parking meter, stuff like that. But the number of hazards that you have to watch out for is less than Turtles in Time. The feel of this game, it attempts to recreate the feel of the Konami classics while doing its own thing in a modern market that hasn't seen a beat 'em up in a very long time. I mean, gaming culture is different now than it was in the late 80s, early 90s. There's just no getting around that. But still, to get that feel, which I do think they nailed, the game's producer, Matt Cianchetti, played through a lot of arcade beat-em-ups, both of the Konami games and multiple other titles to really get the best feel down for what it needs to be. And so I think that the core of it's there. It's just there are some differences. One is that this new one is in 3D, whereas the Konami ones were in 2D. The joysticks also feel a little more loose than you might be used to, especially if you're used to fighting game joysticks. But once you get used to it, then it's nothing too difficult. The other cons on it include things such as being unable to clear the game on 1 credit, as a lot of enemies seem to be able to get a hit in no matter what you're doing, especially ones with guns, although it does seem slightly more fair than what you'll experience on most modern light gun shooters that will remove most or all of your health once the unseen timer has reached a certain point. That said, there are health pickups in addition to the power-ups that one can grab to give yourself a quick advantage, but it can get chaotic and you'll be continuing a few times as you play. Hopefully the location you play it at doesn't charge a lot to continue, as that can be adjusted. It doesn't have to be the same as what you started at. It's not a major con, but there is no interwoven storyline here like in the Konami games. While April does get kidnapped by the Foot, you'd only know that by watching the attract mode or finishing the game. In the Konami originals, in the first one, you go to April's burning apartment, and that's where she gets kidnapped, and that sets everything else off. In Turtles in Time, the Shredder steals the Statue of Liberty and then sends you through different time periods. This one just lets you pick your stage and you go at it. Again, it's not a major thing, as arcades aren't all about story, but it's something I noticed as a difference. One criticism I heard about this is that it only has 3 main levels and then the final boss round, but I disagree with this as being a problem because of how long and varied the levels are. As you'll see in my footage here in a few moments, the game from start to finish takes about 40 minutes, maybe 35-40 minutes of play. For most games in the 90s, games average around 15 to 20 minutes of play. These days you do have games that are longer than Turtles is, such as Halo Fireteam Raven and Tomb Raider Arcade, which can both clock in at around an hour of total play, so I think 40 minutes is pretty solid. I don't see this as a pro or a con, but scoring is different from the Konami games. Konami's titles at the time often rewarded you a single point for defeating an enemy, while this one has assigned higher values for defeating different types of enemies, usually in the thousands somewhere. There is a leaderboard for each level as well, giving players ample opportunity to dominate each one. Graphically, it's not a powerhouse or demo showcase of what PCs can do, and it is powered by a PC, as you can see here. But for me, it's fine. It fits the look of the TV show, and that's all you could ask for. And again, people that criticized it for not being a HD remake of the 1989 Turtles have a problem with it either way, but for me, again, it looks fine to me. It's not some kind of 4K ray trace game, but they have great, nicely done effects, such as the flame animations and especially the smoke bombs. I also like the reflective textures on the TCRI level, and there's never any slowdown. It's locked in at 60 frames per second, and when things like walls break open, the debris sticks around instead of disappearing. And so, again, not a super showcase of graphics, but it does everything that I think you would need a game like this to do. The sound's also nicely done, with the sound effects and voiceovers fitting the game perfectly. Voice acting pieces are definitely appreciated, although I think many weren't cut specifically for this game, just pulled from the TV show. But that's fine. The way they fit it in works just as it needs. The music's a little bit more memorable than some of Raw Thrills' other recent titles, although it isn't as catchy as the Konami games, which of course were all based on or pulled from the cartoons, but that's probably the nostalgia talking. I believe the music here is mostly based on the Nickelodeon show, so it'll just depend on your own personal preferences. Overall, if you like the Ninja Turtles, beat-em-up games, co-op games, or something a little different in the modern arcade, I'd recommend this one. It's fun, and especially when playing with somebody else. Now, let's jump into a full start-to-finish play. Okay, since I had some people on my Star Wars review video thinking that I was using emulation to capture the footage for that review, just showing you here that I am using a capture device with a laptop. The capture device is behind the game there, so I'm not going to worry about moving that around. But because most arcades these days use DVI instead of HDMI, they don't put the audio through DVI, of course, since it doesn't have that capacity in most cases, or in any case as far as I know. And So I have to capture it using a camera like this. So that's what we're gonna do here. And so this will be a full playthrough of Rothrills' Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And so let's get to it.
Cowabunga!
I will be Michelangelo.
Look at the shot!
Let's start in the center.
Fill the button by fighting bad guys. You can unleash turtle power.
Bad dudes. This is Dragon Ninja.
Booyaka bunga! Yeah! 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 Wow! Ooh! What the show? Ooh! Wow! So long, sucker! Yeah! Yeah!
So the sewer surfing sequence is nothing for a Ninja Turtles game, but it's always
Ninja
fun.
power!
Just gotta watch out for those. Spear guys always seem to get you in this one. Whenever you hit an explosive barrel, it'll draw the enemies to it. And there's plenty of environmental objects you can hit like that. Oh, I hate those spear guys. That was a waste. Oh well. I guess I have to leave the turtle power behind. One thing about using turtle power is if there's only one guy on the screen, it'll throw more guys on there just to make it feel like at least you did something more. A little more use out of
Enemy
it. First
target.
mid-level boss.
Are you ready for a hot nunchuck fury? Yeah! Nice! Yeah!
That kills me dead.
Look at the shot! Oh no! Yeah! Yeah! No! Yeah! 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 Yeah!
Timing off.
Game over, boy.
We do it. Should have done that earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at this shot!
It's always a nice power up to grab. Turtles Lair with some an arcade and pinball machine. That's always nice. Alright, some power up. So even though I just killed everybody, it'll automatically generate guys. This is not feel wasted in that regard. And a cocktail, maybe. Now for the real boss fight.
You are no match for
So this is all one level. They're fairly long.
Hey Dexter, take the chill pill. Guys, this way.
So at the end of every level, this is where it will give you your total score. It has a leaderboard for every level, every one of the four.
Okay, here we go.
Which is very Ninja Turtle to say.
Oh no! It's
At
the
the beginning of the
flood.
game, it does let you choose which level you want to play.
Yeah!
After that, it just automatically
Ninja power!
chooses for you.
Yeah! Nice!
Nice thing about this level, there's a lot of destructible stuff in the environment.
Yeah! You just got shell-shocked, son!
Boss fight?
You picked the wrong time to mess with me!
Hey, Bebop!
That's the right time to mess with you.
Son!
Yeah! Ow! Yeah! I can take these bugs with my eyes closed.
Shimon!
So long, sucker!
No! Come get me, fools! Now you see me?
During the mid-boss fights, it always likes to give you some shurikens.
That's my cue to bounce! Shimon!
Hey, Bebop, is that all you got? Oh, snap!
Here we go.
It is the turtles known as turtles.
Ninja power!
One thing about the brain for scoring is the brains come out of the robot guys that you can hit the brain guys and get a few extra points. Way to stop the
That's how we
spear
do
guys.
it! You might keep them to win!
There we go.
Oh yeah! Oh, snap!
Very sorry, comrades, but you are no match for the rock steady.
Watch out! Yeah!
I want to throw it at those guys.
Yeah!
Boom, boom, freeze.
Turtle power! That's how we fight!
Feel my over. Go! I'm going to pop your head like a little. Good.
Oh yeah, so long, Rocksteady. Yeah, boy!
Okay, here we go.
Alright, so one more regular level, and then the Shredder's Hideout's multi-boss battle. That's a nice thing about this game is it is lengthy. I heard people complaining it doesn't have a lot of levels, but the levels are pretty
It is the ones called turtles.
Yeah! Nice! Ninja power, boy! So long, sucker!
kind of like the reflective textures on the ground for this.
Yeah! Yeah!
Turtles are no match for crabs.
You do it right, you can throw a crane into the screen too. Crane brain.
Destroy the ones called the turtles.
This elevator reminds me a little bit of Arabian fights.
It is the ones called turtles. Destroy the ones called turtles.
Just notice the power up on the side of the lever. Whoops.
Surrender or be disintegrated.
Pretty nice if you can play as Leatherman. That'd be fun. It's a little secret.
Turtles are no match for crabs. Prepare for undesirable
Ninja power! reptiles just where I want you. Ooh, look, it's another one. You can't beat me.
I missed an animation there.
Yeah, away from me. Stop. Look at the show. Is ruined. You stupid reptile. Shut up, you got.
Stop those nomads, but Brad cannot be stopped.
Nice. Your world will transform. I'm going to blow you, turtle. Disintegrate! You can travel down, you fool!
Now turtles will experience cannot be stopped.
Just a second of invincibility after something like that would be nice. Pretty sure you cannot 1CC this game. As you noticed how many credits I've got.
Cannot be stopped.
Ninja power! You just got shell-shocked! Yeah! Pizza, pizza!
Surrender is optional. Those known as turtles cannot win. Destroy the one
Another boss fight.
Kneel before the genius of Frank Surprise!
Be dead in a flash.
Waiting to
Should eat the pizza for help.
Your lady is strong as I can!
Nice! Yeah! Ninja! Quit hitting me, you maniac!
All right, who's next?
The Shredder.
Michelangelo's on the move.
I get to the Shredder.
Come, face your doom.
This one thing I'd say negative about this game is it doesn't really set up a story at all.
Here we go!
You'd have no idea that April got kidnapped unless you were paying attention to the track mode. Whereas in the Konami Ninja Turtles, you know, you're going to her apartment at the beginning, and so it sets that all up. But here, you just Ninja Turtling.
What makes you think you can waltz into my
I guess they figure you already know the story.
Attack!
Hey, Shredder, off the helmet, dude.
Pathetic turtles. This is not the end.
Step off me, son! Eat it, turtle! No!
Nice thing on this level is the time it gives you to continue is a lot higher than normal. Normally it's 20 seconds, as you probably saw. Now it's 120 seconds. Plenty of time to get more coins and recharge your card if you need to.
You are unworthy of my Finally, I'll be rid of you freaks.
No! Can't catch me! All suit, baby! Son!
Bring me a real enemy. Guards! Guards!
Freaking out here, man!
Cannot defeat me.
You just got shell shocked, son.
Deal with these turtles.
Send them free pizza!
You are nothing to
Come
me.
on, I jumped over that.
Nothing for you.
For that too.
Good. I have prepare to meet your fate. Pound you to pulp. I've dealt with you long ago.
Motherland Russia, turtle soup you!
Attack!
Cheap spear guy.
Deal with these turtles. Splinter should be ashamed.
Mace Windu know you have his lightsabers?
So long, sucker. No! Turtle power! That's how we do it.
Have my vengeance.
Look at this shot! No!
surrender.
It's nice that the bosses don't always follow you around the screen and just keep thrashing.
Guards! Guards! You are finished. Well played, Turtle. Let the feet of the perfect.
Tons, dude.
Renner will reward me handsomely for yourself.
Train harder. Foot, join me.
Ninja power!
This world will belong to the foot. I will deal with you myself. You interfere in my business for the last time. Today you meet your end. Curse you.
Yeah!
Nunchuck hits. Love it. Down to
Pizza! Booyakasha!
It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I guess it didn't do well enough to get on the leaderboards. As I do have a guy who really gets into it. His name's Joe, and he's dominated those leaderboards. But thanks for watching. If you come across this game out there, it is fun. It's a little cheap, like most games are these days, but still fun, especially if you play with other people. And so give it a shot. And so overall, I'd recommend it if you do come across it. It's done pretty well for me as an arcade operator. That's TMNT, released in May of 2018. So you'll see it out there. A lot of people to thank.